Thank you so much, guys, for joining. So today we are going to see the functions you see here, including distinct by, group by, mean by, max by, order by, reduce, and Planck. All of these are from the core module. Most of the functions you need are from the core module. We are going to see the other important functions from the other modules next week, but all of these functions are in the core module. So to practice them well, I mean, when you see the documentation at a high level, you may feel you understand some function, but you really understand it and remember it well when you do hands-on examples. So I have prepared hands-on examples for that purpose. As you can see, we have 5 examples. So we will answer these questions, and also we will see other things. But these are the main functions we are covering that you can see here. These are the main functions. And the data that we are going to use to answer the questions are already shared in the GitHub repo. If you don't have them already, we have order details from the W3 schools data. Also, there is employees data from the W3 schools again. We have the airports data that we have been using since the beginning, and this one and this one also are for all except one. All of them are from the W3 schools data sets. This is products. This one order details. This one order details. So let's start by answering the questions, and we are going to see what functions we need to answer them. And then for each function, we'll read the documentation and understand how it works and its nuances. So the first one, it says, how many distinct order IDs do we have in the order details W3 schools data? So that data is order details. So we have this data set. So it is asking us about this data set. Let me open it and show you the columns. So we have order detail ID, order ID, product ID, and quantity. And the question is, how many distinct values of this do we have? As you can see, there are duplicators. Let me increase the font here so that you are able to see it. So how many distinct order IDs do we have? We see this order ID duplicated a couple of times, this one a couple of times, and so on. So how many distinct order IDs do we have in that data set? And to answer this question, we use this function called under module. There is distinct by. So if you go to the documentation, here you start from DataWeave reference. Then if you go down, you see the different modules here, DW, core. Under that, if you scroll down, we have distinct by. So it helps us to get distinct values in an array or in an object also. So you see here, as you can see, it says iterators. Sorry, I need this one. It says iterators. It iterates over an array and returns unique elements in it. So distinct by can be used to get distinct values in an array, and also in also in an object. Also, we'll see like this one, for example. Let's just take these numbers and go to DataWeave playground. So in this array, for example, you can see there is 0, 1, 2, 3. 3 is duplicated 2 times. 2 is also duplicated 2 times. 1 is also repeated. So you simply add to this one distinct by. So there is autocompletion, similar to filter and map. You can do like this, or simply also you can just provide $sign. So $sign here is the item. Rather, we don't need the index here. So distinct by the item. So as you can see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, it returns like this. These are unique values. So we use distinct by to answer that question. So this is with an array. We can also use it with with an object. Here they are using it with an array. It is the same thing with an object here. Let's see this object. If I just paste this distinct by, so this is based on the keys here, A and uppercase A are, it is not case sensitive, but when it is a string, it is case sensitive. So the unique values, the distinct values, unique key value pairs we have are shown here. So in short, we can use distinct by to get unique values in an array or in an object. It iterates, it goes over the elements, and it just returns unique elements. Now let's use distinct by to answer the question. So this one. So how many distinct order IDs do we have with order details? I have added this data, as you can see, like what we have been doing. Set metadata, order details has been added here. So that example data, I provided it as an example data, like what we have been doing. So this is a payload. Now the payload you see here, we have the payload here, and order ID is here. So we can just add distinct by $sign order ID. Like when it is an array, we just put $sign, right? When it is in the previous example, in the array we have numbers, so we just do $sign. But now the $sign is each element, so it is an object. So we put $sign dot order ID. So if we do like this, these are the distinct values. There are no duplications here. The duplicate values are removed. So pay attention here. We just, rather than, so the difference between this one and the example we saw in here are, this one we just put $sign because they are just numbers. Whereas in here, since it is an object, this is the first $sign, the first item. The second item is this one. So from each item, we want to get the order ID and get distinct values of the objects based on the order ID. As you can see, we have this many. Now we can put just size of to answer the question. How many distinct values do we have? We can put size of. We have 196. And usually also it is a good practice to build your code step by step. You see the intermediate results and keep building on that. So we can create a variable here. So var unique order IDs. For example, I can create this variable. So this is an array of objects with distinct objects based on the order ID. Now I can get the size of that array. So basically, we just created a variable here, and we got distinct values. The count of the distinct values here. This variable is distinct recurrence, and this one gives the size. So that answers our first question. It has lots of applications. Second question is from the employees here. From the employees data in the W3 schools data, find the oldest and the youngest employees. So for this one, to answer this question, we will need min by and max by. We'll see what they are used for in the documentation. So min by and max by are, let's start with max by is here. So max, it gives us the maximum value. Like is this one, I have this array, for example. If I just come here and do max like this, it gives me the maximum value, right? Or if I change this to min, it gives me the minimum value, which is 0. Now, max by and min by, they give max or min values by groups. So as you can see here, it says iterates over an array and returns the highest value of comparable elements from it. So for that one, what we can do is, let's see here, this one. I have the data added again. So this is, let me show you the data. We have this data of employees. It is an array and an array object. It contains objectives we have here. So we want the oldest employee and the youngest employee. So we want to get the object that contains the based on the birth date that contains the oldest and the youngest employee. So what we do here is simply we have payload, then mean by. Now when I do like this, it is an object here. We have, these are objectives. So I have to add $sign dot birth date. So let's see what this gives me. So if I do like this, what it is giving me is the object that has the minimum birth date. As you can see, this is 1928. So that will be the oldest employee, right? Let me comment it out first. See the payload. This is the payload. The original payload we have is an array. So from this array, we can't just say mean of birth. We cannot say mean of birth date. What we can say is, since these are objects, each one of them, since it is objects, we want to get the object that contains the minimum birth date. So mean by, then $sign, mean by $sign birth date. Or here also you can put max by. If I just put max by like this, then it is going to give me the maximum birth date, which will correspond to the youngest employee. So here also we can create the results. The results, we can put them as variables. And let me show you. So copy paste them here. And then just here, I can add oldest and youngest. So these are the oldest and the youngest employees. We can't even do like, rather than like that, we can create the result. We can make it an object with key value pairs. So this one, oldest and youngest, like this. So the oldest employee is this one, and the youngest employee is this one. The youngest was born in 1969, whereas the oldest was born in 1928. So the main thing is counterparts of mean and max. There are mean by and max by also. And when it is an object, and if you want to get the mean and maximum based on values of a key in an object, you put $sign dot the key name. So the other thing is, you just, well, you have to practice this one. That is clear. Without practicing, you cannot understand. You cannot really internalize any programming language. So practice, number one. The other thing is, you have to build it step by step. You just first print the payload. So let me comment this out again. So first, you start with the payload. You see what it looks like. Then after that, when you add step by step, you build on top of it step by step and understand what is happening. It is until you master it, it is a matter of try and error with your code. Some code types may work, others may not work, and you will ask why it is not working. And as you practice, you will understand it. So this is how we can use mean by and max by. Okay. Next question is number 3. In the airports data, find the count of airports by time zone. So this one, first we group by time zone, then we get the number of records in each time zone. This is similar to group by in SQL, excuse me. So there is group by. This one is also under the core module. Let's see, group by is here. So here, for example, you see some example. Copy paste it here. So we have this is simple array group by item index. The items are ABC. The indices are 0, 1, 2. So we want to group them by index. So it will start with 0, which is A, 1, B, 2, C. This is dummy example. But group by anyway, it creates an array that contains that for each in this group by, for each key, it is going to put the different values or objects under that key. Let's see a more realistic example. Let's see. Probably our example could be easier. Okay, let me show you our example here. This one. So I have added the airports data as usual. Let me show you. You can see, just click here, edit sample data. So this is the airports data, right? So it has time zone, and this is offset. This is a time zone name. Let's just find the count. And I kept going down the stairs to check if you're coming. Okay. Okay. So yeah, let's find the number of airports by this time zone. So what do we do? Where is this? This is I have the payload first. Let me show you this one. Move it like this. My Anyport Studio is stuck for some reason. Bear with me for a sec. So weird. Oh my goodness. Okay, seems like it started working. Okay, we have the payload here. So we wanted to get the count of the number of airports by time zone. So we put group by, and we have in group by, we can do key value, or we simply, for each item, we can do like before, $ dot t zone. So when I do like this, let me show you what it gives me. We maximize this. So you see, one time zone name is America, New York. All airports under that time zone are put here as an array. Each one of them is an object, but all of them are here under this array, under that time zone name, until if I scroll down, maybe there are a lot under in northeast part of the US. Maybe there are many airports. Let's scroll down. I don't think this. I should have listed some airport names. Okay, let me copy these and paste it here. I want to show you here. So this is one time zone name. We have this array. I can scroll down and see where it ended. Yeah, many airports. We'll see that we'll get the count of the airports by time zone. I just wanted to show you the structure of the array. So scroll down. That's fine. Okay. This one, yeah, still the airport, the time zone, as you can see, is America, New York. And to go down, it's still the same thing. Yeah, it ends here. So we see this one, this array, it contains all the airports under America, New York time zone. So this is 2883. That array, as you can see, its key is this one, and its value is this array. So value of a key can be anything. It can be a string, it can be, we said it can be string, it can be arrays, it can be objects, and so on. In this case, it is an array. So we have key value pairs where the keys are the time zone names, and their values are all the airports under that time zone as objects. So that is 2000, let's go to 2880 something, it was. Then we have the next one is America, Chicago, the same thing with this one also. Now we want to get the count. So to do that, take this here. So once I do this, now since this is an object, it is an object. Inside it there are arrays, but it is an object. Now we can use map object. We cannot use map because it is not an array, but we can use map object. So let me wrap this in bracket like this. Then map object, and we know with map object, it takes value, key, index. I don't need the index, but once I do like this, then the output I need is, so we said, we know map object takes in an object, and the output is also an object. In this case, what do I need? I need the key, which is the airport name. I need the airport name. Then for each key, as you can see here, for each key, what do we have? For each key, we have an array, right? For each key, we have an array. So we can just use size of now. Size of, for this key, if I pass this array into size of, then it is going to give me the count of these objects. And each object corresponds to one airport, right? So I can do like that. And so here, this one, size of value. If I do like this, see what it gives me. In America, New York, we have 360 airports in that data set, Chicago 258, and 2 at the bottom here, it is not specified, missing. So as you can see here, we have combined different things. We grouped it by time zone. We say the output of this is an object where the keys are the time zone here, and the values are an array of the airports. Since it is an object, I use map object. So this one, you will understand it more when you practice it. You cannot, it is okay if you don't understand everything right now. You have to practice with it, spend more time. And as you practice more and more, you will understand it. Probably something that that you didn't understand when you first practice it, you will understand it when you practice it again. So this is it. This one gives us the count. It can be, this is grouped by, in SQL, group by something, give us count of these records after grouping by time zone. So that's what we have done. Group by time zone, it gives us an object. That object, we can, using a map object, we get the size of the number of records. If you have questions, I will take questions at the end. Let's first finish the questions we have, then I'll take your questions. So we are done with this one, right? So number 4. Question number 4 is, in the DataWeave schools data, order details which products are ordered most frequently and which products are ordered the least. Which products are selling the most and which products are not selling that much. So based on their demand, I want to work on the supply. So I want to get their order frequency, basically. So that one, Also, I have the data here, I think. Okay, yeah, this one. So I have added it here. Let me show you set metadata. Order details, it is this one. These are the fields. Actually, if I just put payload here and preview it, it can show me here. So which product? Okay. Yeah, product IDs, I think, based on the product ID. We have the product ID that we can use. Since this product ID corresponds to distinct products, we can use product ID to know which products are ordered the most and which products are ordered the least. And as you can see, we have product ID. So these are different products. This is one, another one, and so on. So this one is also grouped by. First, we have to group them by product ID. Then this is a continuation of the previous question. Get the group by product ID, then get the count, then take the first, order them. Now there is another function which is order by. Then order them based on the count, then take the first one and the last one. So actually, there are a couple of approaches. In programming, usually you can do things in slightly a couple of different ways. I will show you one way, my way, then as you practice more, you may even come up with better ways. But just understand the concept and the different functions we have. So what we are doing here is in the airport it gave us this result, right? So from this one, this question, the question is like which airport has the highest, which time zone has the highest number of airports, which will be this one, and which airport has the least number of airports, which will be this one. So here also, let me make it full screen and preview. This is our payload. So first comes group by product ID, right? When I do like this, each product ID is a key, and all products with that product ID are under that key. This is one product ID. If you scroll down, you will get another product ID. We have two here. If you scroll down, you'll get another product ID, and so on. So like before. Now I want to get so this is an object. We said with object, we cannot use map, but rather we can use map object. And so now this one, let's wrap it in brackets first to make it readable. So this is the input to the output of this one will be the input to my map object. So map object, then value key, and the output I need is key size of value. So I have these different products and their count. As you can see, different products and their count. Now the question is, which product has the highest frequency and which product has the least frequency? So there are a couple of ways we can solve this. Let me just show you one way. So as you can see, let's use the functions we saw yesterday. This is an object, and from an object we can get the keys and the values using values of and keys of. So this one first, let me save it as a variable that will make it easier writing. So var, let's call it frequency or freq, and I will put freq here. Okay, so I have this frequency, as you can see. Now, if we put values of, it will give us, if we use values of, it will give us the values. These are the counts. And if you put keys of, it gives us the product IDs, which are the keys. Now we can create an array by zipping them together, right? So here let me create two variables, var values to values of freq and var keys equals to keys of. Okay, now here, if I just type values, these are the values. If I just do keys, these are the keys, and the keys are the product IDs. Now we can zip them together, right? And we said when we zip it, it creates an array of arrays by combining the first value from the values from the first array and the second array with their respective indices. So zip values, these functions we saw yesterday. If I do like this, probably it could be better to start keys values. So here I'm creating an array of arrays, and each array, it contains the product ID, which is shown here as string, and its frequency. So since this is an array, we can use on this array, we can further get the maximum and minimum. So okay, this one, let me also save it as another variable, var zipped. I'm calling it zipped. So if I simply type zipped here, just it will bring that in. Now let's get the maximum value and the minimum value from the values. So we have these values. It is simply an array. We can get the maximum and the minimum so that we can use that as a lookup to find the products with that minimum and the maximum order frequency. So simply for this one, I can put max. I don't use max by now because it is simple array numbers. So you can see the max value of these values is 14. I can also put min. The mean value is 1. So the most ordered product was ordered 14 times, and the least ordered product was ordered just only 1 time. Let me save those also as variables. var max quantity equals to max of values, and var mean quantity. As you can see, we are chaining many functions. We are using many functions together, and this helps you to understand their application better. For now, it may look overwhelming, but as you practice it, you will understand it. So if I put max quantity here, as you can see, it is 14. If I put mean quantity here, it is 1. Okay, so now we have an array. Zipped is an array of the product ID and the product. Actually, rather than saying values and the keys especially, I can call it product IDs. That would be more intuitive. Product IDs. And here, since keys is unknown, I have to replace this by product IDs. The values are frequencies. I have to rename this maybe to, I guess we can go with this one. With this naming is fine. So we have, as I said, if we just see zipped, it is a product ID and how many times it was ordered. And we know the max quantity and the mean quantity. So from this array, we want to use filter and to get only the products that have the order frequency corresponding to max quantity and mean quantity. So here I can put zipped filter. We have seen this last time. $sign. So this is the item. $sign means this is the first item. This is the second item. This is the third item, and so on. And I want to sort based on not the product ID, but on the frequency. Since this is an array, I can access the second value by simply putting here square bracket 1. So if I put zip filter 1, this one equals to, so for checking equality, I use W equals to, now I put max quantity. So this one, it is going to give us, from the zipped array, it is going to give us the key value pairs with the maximum order quantity, as you can see. These two products, product ID 72, and 3 products, product ID 31, product ID 59, all of them, they were ordered 14 times. Max quantity, this one is 14. So it just gave us that. And let's create also this one. We can put this also as another variable. So var most ordered products, ordered products, and we have list order products is simply like this. The most, I will change it to list. Now this max quantity should be min quantity. Okay, let me explain this. Bear with me. Let me explain this step by step, and you will understand it better. So where did we start? Why have we written all these variables? We started with payload. So this is our payload. What does it contain? It contains, so this is from the order details. So it contains different orders. And the different orders have product ID. One product ID corresponds to one product. So it can be ordered multiple times. So ordered product ID 11, you can see it 10 times, or product ID 42, you can see it 5 times, and so on. What are we trying to answer? We are trying to answer to know which products are most ordered and which products are least ordered. Okay, then what do? We first get the frequency of each product ID in this payload. What do we do to do that? We use group by. So here we put group by product ID. When we do like this one in group by, it gives an array, an object here where each key is a product ID, and all the records under it as an array are the products with that product ID. So if you check this one, all of these, their product ID is 11 until here. All of them product ID 11. This one, all of them are product ID 42 and so on. Now, this one is not useful enough. I want to get the count of this array, the size of this array, the size of this array. So I want my key to be the product ID, but my value, rather than this array, I want to get the size of this array. So since this is an object, with an object we can't use map, we use map object. For map object, we say the input is an object and the output is an object, whereas for map, it takes arrays and gives arrays. So we put map object, value key index is ordered. Now the key I'm extracting it here, which will be the product ID. I'm not changing it, but the value here corresponds, like for the first item, value corresponds to this array. So I want to get the size of that value. Okay, so when I do that, it gives me, which is freq in this variable, it gives me these key value pairs. The keys are the product ID, the values are the frequency or the number of orders of that product ID. This one still doesn't answer my question, because the question is which product is ordered most and which product is ordered least. And there could be a couple of products with the same frequency. So I can't just order them and take the first one, order them in ascending order and take the first one, or order them in descending order and take the first one. I can't do that because there could be ties. So to do that, first, this one, we changed it to an array. How did we change it to an array? First, we get the keys using keys of function that we saw yesterday, and the values we get using values of. So values of will give us these frequencies on the right, keys of will give us the keys. Now we created an array by zipping them together. So this one, zip, creates an array by combining. So it is just combining this with this, this with this, but rather than an object here, it gives us an array. So you can see understanding the data type, understanding the data type and its behavior, how important it is to answer questions. So we have this one. So in each array, the first element is a product ID. The second element is its frequency, right? So from this one, now we can get the maximum, we can get which ones have, we can use filter in that array to get the product IDs with the maximum order frequency and the minimum order frequency. But first, let's get the maximum and the minimum order frequency. Since we have the values, which is simply an array, this array, we can just use max and min on top of this to get the maximum and the minimum frequencies. That is what we have done here. Now, after that, just we have this zipped, which is an array. Yeah, then we apply filter that we saw before. So filter $sign is it is the items, the different items. Like in the first iteration, the $sign is this item. So I want to filter only if from each item the second element, because the first element will be index 0, and it is a product ID. I don't need that. I want the frequency to filter based on the frequency. So that is why we put square bracket 1 is equals to down. This is for filtering to check equality. We use down equals to max quantity. That's what we did. So these three products, they have the same frequency as you can see, 14, 14, 14. And the same thing with the mean quantity also. Mean quantity, if I just put this here, could be a couple of products, not one product. Let's see, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 product IDs, they have the same order quantity. Now we can refine this and make it structure it better. Let me show you, like, what we can do here is, since this is an array, I can create from this array, I can create an objects of key value pairs. So this one, just map value key. Then what I want to get is, I want to get a dictionary of the key and the value. Now it changes to this one. So what do we get here? Value. Okay, give me a second. This one I have. Let me copy paste this. What I'm doing here. I will explain what I'm doing here. Most ordered products are products here. List ordered products. Okay, so this one answers the question. The final answer should be something like this. So most ordered, this one max ordered or most ordered. I can put this as most ordered and least ordered. So most ordered products are, we see the product ID and how many it was ordered. So all of them, they are ordered 40 times and their product IDs are here. Least ordered also are these product IDs and their frequency is here. So what are we doing here? What we are doing is we take the most ordered products and least ordered products, then we put value index. Okay, let me first show, yeah, let me first comment this out and I will show you what I am doing here. So this is multi-line comment. Can comment multiple lines by using this. So this is most ordered, right? It is array of arrays. So I want to I want to create a dictionary. I want to create a dictionary and make the first value a key and the second value as a value. So create an object with key value pairs, and the key, this one will be the key and this one will be the value. So that's what I'm doing here. Value index, then the value is this one, right? So first time it is this one, the second time it is this one, the third time it is this one. So from these values, the first item, I want to make it a key because it is product ID. And the second item, I'm making it the value because it is a frequency. Now, actually, this one also, we can save it as the most ordered, this one as an object. Let's save it as an object because this is an array of arrays. Now this one, we can save it as an object. Most ordered product is object. If I put like this, let me show you here. And this one, just put it here. This one is what it gives me. So we have an array of the products that are most ordered with product ID and their frequency, product ID and their frequency, product ID and their frequency. And for the list one, also this one, rather than putting it here with a dictionary, with the object, I want to create first separate variables and put the variable name here. Here also, var list ordered products object. If I put like this and show you this one also, it is going to give me products that are list ordered like this. Now, finally, I want to create an object that contains list of most ordered products and list of least ordered products. So just remove this. So this one, I bring it and it will be the value for this one. So it is an array by itself. The value is an array. This one, this one, it will be here. So this is our final answer. I know this is a little bit involved. Just spend time on it, step by step. Don't just stare at this code. Rather, just start from the payload, then group by product ID, see what it gives you. It is an object. Then step by step, try to understand step by step. So this should be our final answer, neat final answer. It gives us products that are most ordered and products that are least ordered. If you have time and if you want to challenge yourself also, import the data to Workbench like what we did before, and then use group by, and then see if you get the same product IDs and the same frequencies. Then after that question, so we are done with this one. Now let's go to question number 5. This is interesting. In the products data set again, this products data set, how many products have prices of more than 100, more than 50, more than 20, and less than 20? So this is the products. I have price here. I want to categorize them based on their price. Just get categories based on their price, and then get the frequency. Getting the frequency is the same as what we have been doing, but just let's categorize this one using if-else condition. So we have seen about if-else condition before in the tutorial from W3C. This here. If you forget it, you can review it here. If-else should be here. We have flow control if-else. So you can review this one. It is just intuitive. So with our example, let me show you to answer our question what we can do. So the price, we are going to create another field, another column, and give it a name. If it is greater than 100, we will call it greater than 100. If it is between 100 and 50, we will call it greater than 50. If it is between 50 and 20, we will call it greater than 20. And if it is less than 20, we call it less than 20. Then we get count based on that new field that we are going to create. So for that one, by the way, I'm going to upload this, push this to the GitHub repo, so you will get it from there. Okay, it is this one. Let's start, as usual, let's start with the payload, see what it looks like. I'll make this full screen. This is, we have price here. So we want to create an additional column based on the price, and then count based on that additional column we are going to create. So what we can do here is just use map that we have been using, value index, then product ID, where I'm not changing product ID. Product ID is simply value dot product ID, and supplier ID. Supplier ID is also simply value dot supplier ID. I will show you where we are changing. Okay, we have product name also. Product name is, I don't want to change the column names, so that is why the values, I'm using the same field names. Dot product name, this should work. Value dot product. Why is auto completion is not working? Let's see. And category ID. Category ID is value dot dot there should be some problem. Product. So these are case sensitive. Product ID and product name and supplier ID. Let me see if it is correct so far. Okay. Oh, we should have this comma. Okay. Now add a comma here also. So this should work. Yeah, category ID is value.category ID. And what is left? Unit. Only if we need all these fields that we include them. If we don't need them, we can include only what we are interested in. Price is also value.price. So far we have not changed anything. Just it took in the input item by item, and it gives us the output. We want to add another field here. So let's call it category. And what we can do is if value.price greater than 100, if it is greater than 100, we want to call it, let's call it greater than 100. GT means for greater, abbreviation for greater than 100. Okay. Else if the same thing, value.price, we say between 100 and 50, right? First, it will check if it is greater than 100. Then it is going to check if it is greater than 50. If it is greater than 50, then we want to call it greater than 50. And else if value.price greater than 20, we want to call it greater than 20, like here. Let me see if I can get more screen here. Okay. What is left? Else. Last one, we want to call it less than 20. This one. So let's spend some time here to try to understand what we are doing. The only new thing here is this one. We are using if else inside map operation. So for in each item, it is going to check, it is going to take the price. It is looking at the price. If it is greater than 100, the category will be this one. If it is greater than 50, between 100, less than 100 and greater than 50, it will be, its category will be GT50. If it is less than 50 and greater than 20, its category will be GT20. Otherwise, it will be LT20. Okay, the first one, what's the category? Less than 20 because it is 18. This one also less than 20. This one greater than 20 because it is 21.35. This one greater than 20 because it is 30. This one 97, so it is less than 100, so that's why you see greater than 50. It is not greater than 100. Let's see if we have greater than 100. We can do GT20 less than 20. Yeah, I think those with prices greater than 100 should be very few, but there are some I remember. So you see, now we have this array. If I ask you to get the count of each category, it is the same as the previous questions we did. Just group by this one, then get size of the array. Okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Yeah, right. I was messing that up. Okay. Sorry. So now, once we do this, you can just wrap this in brackets, and this will be your input array to group by. We want to group by category now. So our input array has a category now. If I do like this, see the output. Less than 20 is one key. All the products with price less than 20 are its values. And let's see if we have greater than 100, we have two. This one 123, this one 236. Now the question is, how many of each category do we have? How many products of each category do we have? We want to get the count. So this if else, it is very important. Like maybe you want to identify based on their prices which products are on promotion, which products have dealers, which products have discounts, and so on. So it is very intuitive. Just practice that. So once we do like this, by the way, you can change it like this, or you can put this as a variable. Putting it as a variable could be easier to understand than just building on top of that. So what we can do is this one. Let's create a variable. Let's call it category added. So this is a variable name I'm giving it because I added category. I'm calling it category added, and that is an array. I mean, an array, still an array, because I have not yet used group by. So now we said group by dot category. Okay. Group by category. This one, it creates an object as we said. Now we wrap this in brackets like this. Now this is an object. We can use map object, then value key, then our output, we want it to be the key and the frequency or the size of the array. So size of value. So as you can see, we have 4D products with price less than 20, between 20 and 50, 30, between 50 and 105, greater than 102. So that answers this question. Spend more time if you don't have, especially if you don't have prior experience with programming, and if this seems overwhelming for you, that is not surprising. You have to practice. Just spend not just looking at it, but in any point studio or in DataWeave, and also on a piece of paper. Just try to think on a piece of paper also. Okay. I think it is opposite group by transfer array to object. Okay, I guess let me unmute you and take your questions. Maybe there are 2 questions here that I should answer. Okay. Okay. All participants and me. Let's start with Asqual. So group by changes object to an array. Group by in this case is changing the array to an object. Asqual, let me show you, and if I am not clear, then you can ask me. So our initial, this one, we have category added, right? Category added is an array, we know, because it is output of map. The only thing is we added this category field. So this one, as you can see, it is an array. There are square brackets. Now, when we do group by category, category will be key, and the values will be all the items with that category. So category is key. So in this case, it is changing it to an object. As you can see, there is curly braces here and at the end. But the values of each object are arrays. And this array, it can contain one item, one or more objects, as you can see. So group by is changing. In this case, group by is changing the array to an object, and the values of the objects are arrays. So the reason that we are using map object on top of it is to get the size of these arrays corresponding to each key. Okay, perfect. The other question is Binyam. I think it is opposite. Group by transfer array to object. Binyam, can you unmute yourself and explain what you mean?
It was not a question. I was replying to Asqual's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Okay. I will take additional. If there are questions, let me first cover the contents I want to cover today, and we can take more time, and I will answer questions. Okay. So it is our final output is this one. So step by step, you can use this one as a reference. Build yourself step by step. You will encounter some errors and see what is happening. It is that way that you get the aha moment. Something when you learn something in the first, it is overwhelming. It could be difficult. There is some curve. After some point, when you practice it, you pass the discomfort zone and you start to understand it. That after that, things you encounter, you understand them relatively easier. But to get that point, you have to practice. If you don't practice, you will not. If you don't practice, the only thing you will remember about this is that it was overwhelming and you will hate it. Okay. So we are done with our questions. I have other important things that I want to talk about. So we saw distinct by to get the distinct values in an array, mean by to get the oldest and the youngest employees based on birth date. So the difference between mean by and max by with mean and max is mean max, they just give you the minimum and the maximum over the whole array, whereas this one it is with specified values. We saw also group by. We group it by some key, then it gives us an object where the field that we are using in the group by is key, and all the items with that key are the values as an array. We saw also order by. Oh, order by. Did we see order by? I don't think so. Okay, we didn't see order by, I think. Let's check order by. So in here, so if I have an array 1, 5, 1, 4, 9, 10, for example, then ordered by, I can just put, rather than item index, I can just put $sign. So as you can see, it orders it in ascending order. In here, I have 1, 4. Let's put 9 here and remove these values. Even put -10, 100, 100, and -100. So order by, it orders it in ascending order, as you can see. -100, -10, 1, 4, 9, 10, 100. This is called counterpart of order by in SQL also. And if you want it in descending order, you just put negative here. So because negative of the numbers will be positive, so if I put like this, see this one, this is 100, negative of this means 100, that's why it is at the end, but actually it is a list. So simply, if you just put order by $sign, it orders it in ascending order. But if you want to order it in descending order, you put negative. There are some examples in the documentation. Let's quickly see them. Order by should be here. Okay, so we have this. Let's take this one and explain it here. This example. So order by, the same as map and filter, it takes key value. In here, it is in this array, we have these objects. So what we want to do is we want to order it by the value of the key. So order by $sign letter. So the first value is, for this one is E, this one is D, and D should come before E, and that is why this comes first, followed by this one. As ordered by one example. And we have in descending order. This one, what we just saw, in descending order, a simple array sorted in descending order like this. If you remove this, it will be in ascending order. If you put the negative, it will be in descending order. So you can, you can go over this one, over the order by also. It is the same thing with what we have been looking at. Shall I give you some 10 minutes break or finish 10 minutes earlier? What do you want? Can you go? Shall we start?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we said these are the functions we are covering today. We started looking at order by, then we'll see this two, and then we'll be done. Order by, let's see order by in a little bit of more details. Okay, so we just see the examples in the documentation. We ordered simple arrays. Now let's order an array of key value pairs. So this is our payload. If I move this here, you have an array of people with their name and their age. Let's order it based on age, for example. So what we do is order by, then $sign age. If I do like this one comes first. Even if it was here in the original payload, it comes first, then this one, then this one. And what we said is, if you want this one to come first, this object to come first, followed by this object and this one, that is in reverse, we simply put negative here. As you can see, this comes first and that. What about if this number, if this is not this ordered by, if it is not a number and we want to order it in descending order, what do we see? What do we do? Let's see another example. They have this example here. And so var, let's call it my, what did I copy? Did I copy the var name also? Yeah. So it is my input. So my input, okay. Let me decrease the zoom here. So if I just put my input here, I have this one. Let's order it based on type, for example. So this is string, it will be alphabetical. But if you want to order it in descending order, you cannot put negative because it is string. So my input ordered by the $sign of type. What does it give us? It gives us alphabetically AA is first, followed by BB, followed by CC. Actually, the original input was also like that. Let's exchange them. Let's make this for B's and that one for A's. As you can see, this one comes first, even if it was second here, followed by this one and so on. And since it is an array, if you want to reverse it, it is an array of objects. If you want just to reverse it, just use array indexing. So wrap it in brackets, and you can put. So what did we say to? If we have an array, let me go open another DataWeave playground, and we'll go over the tutorials of DataWeave playground here, and tutorials under, it was, I think, index selector, range selector, yeah, like this. So in here, it starts, if you have this array, we say it starts from 0, the indexing, it starts from 0 here, this is of index 0, this is of index 1, this is of index 2, and so on. So if you put from 0 and 1, from 0 to 1, it is going to give you this one and this one, right? But rather than what you can do, if you want to reverse this, what you can simply do is, you have also negation. Let me, in addition to the indexing, if you start from the left, it is 0, 1, 2, and so on. But you can start from the right also. Now it starts from -1 to -2, -3, and so on. And when you index, you can use mix of one going to the left and one going to the right. I mean, you should not necessarily start with negative and end with negative, or start with positive and end with positive. So like, for example, you can do -1, 2, since you don't know how the size in the array. You cannot do -n, since you don't know how many there are in that array usually. So what you can do in that case is, if you just want to reverse it, like in this one, I can't do -1 to -3, right? So this will reverse it. But this one, the size in the array may be variable. So rather than -1 to -3, I can put -1 to 0. This is very nice. So from -1, as you can see, to 0. So it goes to the left. From the right, it goes to the left, and it reverses the order. So in here, since once we sort it by type, we sorted it by type alphabetically. Now, if you want to sort it in descending order, we put -1 to 0. Oh, 0, I'm sorry. Like this. So CC comes first, as you can see. This is this one, this is this one, and this is this one. So order by is very neat. The documentation is very nice. Review that and please practice it. Now, let me see. We'll try to finish this in 20 minutes. Rodis and Planck. Okay, I think Planck, let's talk about Planck first. It can have multiple use cases. So the difference between Planck, you can read the documentation. The difference between map object and Planck is Planck, where is it here? So in map object, the input is an object and the output is an object. Whereas in Planck, it is useful for mapping an object into an array. So the output is an array, basically. You have key value index, then it gives you an array. That's the main difference between Planck and the map object. Otherwise, they have similar functionality, but you may need the output to be an array so that you can perform array operations on top of it. So let's see some examples, like this one, for example. Oh, okay. I don't leave it as a variable. Let me put it, and I will increase the zoom level so that you can clearly see it. So we have an object with two key value pairs. Now, if we want to change this to an array, we do Planck, and this auto completion is nice. It has value, key, index, and then we may need to put in an array form. For example, we may want it to be index, and then an object of the key and value. So the first one, index will be 0. This key, let me put it like this. Okay, I don't, let me remove this. Okay, so see, our input is an object, but our output is an array from the square brackets, you can tell. So what are we doing here? The index I'm making it we have two objects, right, in this array, one object and another object. So the index is the key of each object, 0, 1, as you can see. And the value by itself is another object, which is key value pairs from the original object. So Planck, it gives you an array, and it helps to manipulate your data in the data manipulation. It makes it more flexible. Let's see another example. If they have one, yeah, actually that's enough. I think with Planck, we don't need to spend more time. Just practice that, and you will quite understand it. To save time, I will go with our next function. So reduce is what we are going to spend more time. Okay, perfect. Let's budget 20 minutes on reduce. Before that, let's see how to write custom functions. Yeah, -1 to 0 is interesting because you start with -1, and rather than putting two negative in, you start from the left. So you are giving you are making the end from the right, the end as the start, and the beginning as the end. So it is very handy. Yeah, I love it too. Okay. So I want to talk about, let me see, functions. Let's talk about functions. Because before going to reduce, I want to review functions a little bit. So functions, let's make this JSON. So function is like the functions we are using, min, max, and so on. We are creating such functions, our own such functions. And functions start with the keyword fun. Then the function name, let's call it even add my numbers. We want to add 2 numbers, for example. This is my function, add my numbers, this function name. And then I provide, these are called the arguments. Let's say if there are 2 numbers, just put AB, And the output should be A plus B. Let me put like this. So what is this? So this is a function name. When I give you two numbers, add them, is what we are saying. These are the inputs, they are called inputs or arguments. And the output, when I give you two numbers, it should give me the sum of the two. So now let's put, add my number is 5 and 7. It should give me 12, as you can see. And so on, multiply, you can put, you can practice by creating your own functions like this. In that, inside the functions also you can have if-else conditions. Like for example, let's create another function that tells us if a number is even or odd. Fun again, is it odd? Is it odd or even, I will call it. And I will pass a single number. Now my argument should be just A. Now equals to, if what I'm going to do is, if when A divided by 2, if the remainder is 0, so this is modulus calculator, that means it gives you the remainder. A, it divides it. It is in the core module. We have seen it before. It divides it by 2 and it gives you the remainder. If the remainder is 0, then it is even. So I will put even. Oh, this should be string. Even, else, odd. So now I can bring this and comment this and put, is it odd or even 10? It is even, as you can see here, it says even. 19, you should say odd, and so on. So we create functions like this, simple functions, right? Now let's get a little bit fancier. I hope many of you remember factorial calculation, factorials from high school math. So factorial means if it is 5 factorial, it is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 until 1. So let's see. Factorial. So for n factorial, this was our fun thing in high school. So n factorial, what happened to my browser? Okay. Yeah, here, n factorial is n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 until 1. Once it gets 1, once it gets to 1, then it will stop and return the product. Now let's create a function that does that in here, because reduce does something similar. It is called the recursion. So I want to show you that. So I have this function here. I think let's create it in DataWeave. That notebook, that project, I will share it with you. But here, let's do it together. So always a function starts with fun keyword, like variables start with var. So fun, let's give it get factorial, and the argument is some number, so it is 1. Now what we are going to do is, if let's see, x equals to 1, if x equals to 1, then it should return 1. Else, this is a little bit confusing. Bear with me for a second. Now it is calling itself. Let me show you what it is doing. X minus 1. Okay. And first, let me test it. 5. Did I miss something? Okay. Yeah, equals to. Always functions start with equals to. Okay. Get factorial if x equals to 1. Why is it returning 1? Okay. If x equals to 1, then 1. Else get factorial x minus 1. Get factorial 5. It returns. I'm missing something. Okay. Let me fix it. So in here, what it is doing is we want to calculate the factorial. So we start with n. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. I know what I'm missing. This should be n times n. It is n times n minus 1, right? So it should be x times get factorial of x minus 1. Okay. So what is it doing? What we are doing is, so if it is 5, for example, it will be 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 2 times 1. So it is 5 times 4 factorial. It is 5 times 4 times 3 factorial. It is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 factorial. Then it is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 factorial. And 1 factorial is 1. So then finally it becomes 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay, that's what we are doing. That thinking process, we are changing it here. So you see, get factorial is a function name that is equals to, if x is 1, 1 factorial is 1. It has just return 1. Otherwise, it should return the product of x times get factorial. We are calling itself here. Get factorial of not x now, but rather of x minus 1. If it was originally 5, let me put, if this is 5, the first time this will be 5 and this will be 4. And get factorial of 4 will be 4 times get factorial of 3. And that get factorial of 3 by itself will be 3 times get factorial of 2. And that get factorial of 2 will be 2 times get factorial of 1, which is 1. So the final result will be 1 times 2. This product is, which will be the product of these numbers, you see. This is what it will tell me. 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. This is just fun part to understand that, to show you its functionality, writing a function, and also it is fun to calculate factorial. Otherwise, we have the Planck, the reduce function. It is very handy. You don't need, you just give it the input and it gives the output. If you don't understand this, that's okay. Now let's see what reduce does. It is something similar. Reduce is here. Increase this one. There are multiple examples here. So see, for example, you want to add arrays. So let's see, 1 to 10. What happened to this? Oh, my input is here. Okay, 1 to 10, right? I have this array. I mean, is it in an array? I can create the sum just like by doing like this. It gives me 55, right? Let's see to get this 55 using reduce. So with reduce also, what it does is the first time, okay, in this array, to get the sum when we use reduce, what it is going to do is we have these numbers 1, 2, 3. I think I will make the array smaller. 5. It is similar to the recursion we saw. Let's make this up to 5. So what it does is, first it does 1. I will use a different color. If 1 plus then 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the next time, then it will be plus again 2, comma, then 3, 4, 5. Then next again plus 3. Then with this one 4, 5. Bear with me, I will explain it well. And finally, we have, I think I'm running out of space, plus 4 and 5 should be this one. And finally, we have 4. It is similar to the plus 5, similar to the recursion. So first, it has a container. Think a container, some container here. When you give it the arrays, the first time, what it does is it sends this value, it puts this value to here, plus the rest of it. The rest of it is this one. Then it takes the next element. This one gets added to it, 1 plus 2, which is 3, plus this ones have not been added yet. Next, 3 comes to here. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 is in this container. Plus there is this one not yet added. Then 4 gets added to the container, and then 5. So it is taking element by element and adding it up. And let me show you with this one what result we get. So 1 to 5, we can just do sum. It gives 15. Or with reduce, the reason you may ask, why don't we use sum? Why are you using reduce? There are lots of cases where simple functions like sum don't solve, but reduce can handle, because reduce is so flexible. So this reduce, and it takes 2 elements. It takes 2 arguments, element and accumulator, which is called accumulator. Like the accumulator is, think of the container I drew. So for this one, I want to return, it should be like this, accumulator plus element. This is what I just drew, right? So the accumulator was initially just empty. Then we sent 1 item, we put 1. So empty plus 1 is just 0 plus 1 is 1. The next one, 2 came. So originally in the accumulator, there was 1. Now 2 added, 3. The next 4 came, 3 plus, okay, let me do these numbers. Confuse it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our accumulator, this one that you see here, our accumulator is initially 0. Then we are adding element by element. It is iteratively adding each element to this one. So 0 plus 1. Now the accumulator gets updated to 1. The accumulator is 1 at this stage. It is updated. Next, when 2 comes, the accumulator is 1. Then 1 plus 2, the accumulator gets updated to 3. Next, the element is 3. 3 plus the accumulator value, which is 3, it gets updated to 6. Next, 6 plus the next element, which is 4, the accumulator gets updated to 10. Next, the last one, 5 plus accumulator value, the accumulator is 5, the last element is 5. So 5 plus 10 is 15. That is what we get here. This is very handy. It has multiple applications. So like, for example, we may say here, let's do multiple things. Let's say this array, let's make it 1 to 10. And let's do multiple things. For example, this is the sum. By the way, we can also define the initial value of the accumulator, of the container. If it is addition, by default, it is 0. So if I just do accumulator 0, it doesn't change. But if I had initial value, you will change, this sum will change. So if my initial value was 1, then my final result will be 56, 1, as you can see. If it is 10, it will be 65, like that. And if it is product, by default, it is 1. Let's change this to, if we want, if I ask you to give me the product of the numbers between 1 and 10 inclusive, just do like this. This is another answer, as you can see. But if by default, the accumulator value also should be 1. Otherwise, in multiplication, if it is 0, it will be 0. And see here, I'll change this to 0, and the result will be 0, because the initial value is 0. 0 times some number 0, then another number. It is like enemy soldiers are coming, and ATDF is killing them one by one. So okay, so that is accumulator. Let's see more examples and we'll understand this better. So you see here, it is adding 2 and 3, it returns 5. We have, I think the examples I have could be better. Let me see what examples I have. Okay, I have a couple of arrays that I will put here. Var my array 1, 1, 2, 5. Var my array 2, 1 to 10. Then var my array 3, I will put an array with 1, 5, 6, and string A and B and Boolean 2 and some number. Now let's do a couple of things. Here, first thing, product of numbers, we have seen that. Simply, let's see the product of number of the array, the element is in my array 1. My array 1 reduce element accumulator. The second one is accumulator. You can give it whatever name you want, but always the second one is accumulator. So element accumulator, and the output will be the accumulator times the element. So in multiplication, we say the initial value is 1. So that's why it returns 120. So here, product of the numbers in the array. Another one, let's concatenate numbers. Even, for example, we can concatenate them. I will comment this out. And my array 1, it is not necessarily multiplication and addition that you can do. You can do different things, reduce and element accumulator. The accumulator value, let's define it to be string, for example, initially empty string. So this one, let's see what we can do is just concatenation, double plus element. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the different elements in the array are concatenated together. And so this is concatenation. Oh, I'm using Python comment. Okay. And another one, product of even numbers. I may give you, like in the second array, let's ask the question, give me product of the odd numbers or product of even numbers. So here, all of these are in the project. So I will share the project with you, so don't worry. Here, product of even numbers. So what we can do is my array, comment this, my array 2, let's take the second one, then reduce element accumulator, which is accumulator in this case, since it is product, it will be 1 by default. We said we also explicit 1. Now we want to put, oh, this is like this, rather than accumulator times element. If the element is even, then we pass the element value. But if it is not even, we want to replace it by 1 so that the product doesn't change. So we do accumulator times if bracket element, oh yeah, we have to put the mod operation, mod of element 2. That is when element is divided by 2. If the remainder is 0, then we want element. Else we want to make it 1. Not 0. And if you make it 0, the result will be 0, right? It is multiplication. But if you are adding even numbers only, you will change it to 0. We will see that also. So like this, Now close the bracket. So this is a product of the even numbers between 1 and 10, 3,840. What have we done? What have we done? As you can see here, the only difference is here we are only including, if the number is even, then we will use it in the multiplication. But if it is odd, we will replace it by 1 so that the product doesn't change. That's what we are doing. This one, you will love it if you practice with it. Now, let's even create another one. Sum of odd numbers. We can call it sum of odd numbers. Sum of, when you process your data, especially if it is nested arrays, objects, and so on, or XML, this one Redis has great functionality. So sum of odd numbers. Now, my initial value should be 0, right? I'm starting from 0. And here, rather than 1, I have to change it to 0. I will explain why I'm doing that. And this one, since I am adding odd numbers only, the remainder, it should be none. If it is not 0, is what I should put. If the remainder is not 0, this one translates it to the statement. If the remainder is not 0, take the element value itself and add it to the accumulator. If the element is not 0, however, just add 0 to the accumulator. So that means the accumulator will not change. So our initial value of the accumulator is 0. Then 1 will come. 1 is an odd number. It will be added. 2, it is an even number. 0 will be added. That means the accumulator value will not change. 3, it is odd, will be added. 4, it will not be added, and so on. So this one, why do I get 0? Give me a sec. Oh yeah, this one should be addition, right? Not multiplication. I am adding the odd numbers. And last but not least, let's see what other product of numbers. Okay, reversing. Let's see, reverse string. There are lots of examples you can see in the documentation, but I think I will stop with this one just and share with you the project. It has many more examples. You can go over that. So reverse string. So my string, let's say, is oh, which one am I reversing? Let me see. Oh yeah, okay. Let's reverse array 1. We can reverse a string also. There is an example on the website on reversing string, but just let's reverse array 1 in this case. Array 1. So what we do is, it is just changing the order of the let me show you. So reduce, I will comment this first, comment this out, reduce element and accumulator. So all of them, what we have done, you see, accumulator is before element, but if you just reverse the order, then it is going to reverse it. Like this. Oh. Element and which one am I reversing? Yeah, element concatenation accumulator. And so you see now, if you use concatenation, it changes it to string. This one. So the first the accumulator default value now is empty string, is like this. So to that empty string, it takes the elements. It is, see, observe the difference between these two, between this one and this one. Just observe the difference. So this one, I will make it like this. So in the output, let me, if I just comment this out, as you can see, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So array 1 is 1 to 5, just in sequence. But now if I just comment this out and uncomment this, now I get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because we are reversing the order. So they have many examples here. You can go over the examples. It is very nice. I will share the project also, practice with that, and Yes, the accumulator you can define any initial value, and also it should not necessarily be numbers or strings. It can be also objects, an empty array, an empty object. Like for example, if you are concatenating for an array, then it will be empty. You can start with empty array or with say empty object and so on. So the initial value can define it. But the reason here, when it is addition, we are starting with 0 is because we want to add the elements. So there should not be any value in the container, in the accumulator. Whereas when it is multiplication, if we start with 0, everything that comes in will be 0 when it is multiplied by that 0. So that is why we start with 1. If it is concatenation, as you can see by default, it is string, but it can also concatenate key value pairs and so on. Probably I can share as DataWeave of the day tips. I will share more examples in the channel, but I think this is enough for today. And I will stop sharing and take any questions you have.